guess initially the idea of church planting in Duncan, I thought of a very, very, very long time ago. One night, in the middle of the night, I woke up and I just had this overwhelming sense come over me that we were supposed to move to the Cowichan Valley.
I feel a little bit like Jonah and Nineveh because I feel like I don't know if I really want to go back to Duncan. So I was like, yeah, okay, we should just pray about that and see what happens. A guy named Ben Laird from Camp Qwanoes came into my office and he said, can I talk to you for a second? I was like, all right. I don't know how else to say this, but just want to say, if you ever want a church plant in Duncan, Melissa and I are in. I was like, okay, that's really interesting.
We're meeting with David Harita, the regional director, and went for lunch.
And I just got excited and I said, hey, I can't stop thinking about church planting in Duncan. What do you think about that idea?
In that conversation, they said, you know, we believe in you as a fellowship. We will give money and support to you, and we believe you can do it. If you believe you can do it. And that was a tough one for me because it's my hometown. And so in that process, we thought we should go and go into Duncan and pray for the day. So on Family Day weekend, we decided just to incognito go into Duncan and pray. So we gathered the Lairds, we gathered Tristan Clausen from the camp. We just prayed in the middle of the city. In that time, we felt, Christy and I, going, okay, well, just like Gideon, we're going to throw some fleeces down, and there's 4 things we need to make sure of. God, if you really want this to happen, all 4 of our kids have to be in line with what we're doing. We can find a place to stay. Can we even afford it? We don't even know with the interest rates going up. Will people even want to come? And we would be disobedient if we didn't do it. So over a couple weeks, 3 of our 4 kids saying, we believe we're called to go to Duncan. I couldn't believe it. And I had a really unusual conversation with somebody here in our church, Kathleen, and she said after the business meeting, can I just talk to you about something? I said, sure. So we went over there into that section after the business meeting, and she just said, hey, you've been on my mind all week, and we've been praying. I've been praying for you. But she has to ask you something. It's going to sound really weird. She said, what does the Cowichan Valley mean to you? I just couldn't believe it. Like, what do you know? She says, I know nothing. So I knew God affirming over and over and over again that we must go. So we felt like this is something God's putting in our heart. And sharing that with the family, we were praying every single day. All of our kids were excited to go. We could afford housing. We looked into that. We still don't know if people will attend because we couldn't talk about it yet. So we'll have to believe in faith, but we would be disobedient if we didn't. So a few weeks ago, we went to Brent and Pam, and they shared excitement over what God is doing and hearing that story, and that was really affirming to us as well. And so that's where we're at. We believe that God is planting a church in Duncan, and it's just God has been working in us. And this past week, we've got about 20 people now, or all of a sudden just saying, yeah, we're in, yeah, we're in, yeah, we're in. And it's just been crazy. But now that it's public, I'm just trusting in faith that God will do it. So stepping out, taking a risk. There's lots of people in Duncan. There's 48,000 people in the Duncan, North Cowichan area. We know it very well. But there's very few churches, and a lot of them are struggling. So our mission as a church is going to be there will be a visible presence of Jesus in the Cowichan Valley. And so that is unwavering. It's unmistakable God is doing this. I can't deny it anymore.
So when we initially came to Duncan, we didn't know how many people we were going to have. We had like a handful, and people were eager to start getting together and just meet and worship together. So we invited people into our home.
We're just going to start with some communion things and then started more formally.
And then after a few weeks, we're like, you know what? We need to open this up. So we just posted on the Facebook page, hey, come to our house and gather, and we're going to have a little service together, a little gathering together. And we started with maybe 40 people that came. And the next Sunday, there was maybe 50 people that came. And then
we actually had 72 people in our house.
And we were like, oh, we had like a little bit of a situation here.
We're like, this cannot keep happening in our house.
We cannot host 72 people in our home.
And so we had planned to come into the theater at the end of November, but we bumped that up.
And then the next Sunday, we were here trying to scramble together a service.
We had to make space because we couldn't grow further from where we were at.
And then January 8th, 2023, we had our official public launch. and it was surreal. 90 people showed up. Right afterwards, we went to a potluck at Camp Qwanoes. We met in their dining hall. We celebrated with a big gigantic cake, and it was phenomenal. And then began the building of this church. Over this past year, we saw lots of new people. In fact, every single Sunday we've existed, we've seen a first-time attender. And we sent 5 people on mission to Mexico to work with Indigenous kids. We had a church picnic. It was so fun in the springtime. One of our biggest highlights about 6 months ago was that we got a chance to baptize 6 people in June of 2023. It was awesome. It was so cool to be able to see this being transformed lives. Over the fall, we started seeing this problem coming up with kids ministry starting to get harder and harder and harder. Our congregation was growing, and a lot of things were happening with the theater where it just was limiting us with our growth. Everything changed December 29th. We got a call from Moby, who we rented from the theater. And he said not to pay rent for January. Thankfully, we already had our brunch lined up. We weren't going to plan to go to the theater that day. So we already had a place to go. And then we had Camp Qwanoes coming up for January 7th for our celebration of 1 year. It's really fun for us to be able to look back at the snapshot. Do you remember when, at 1 year, we didn't even have a building yet? And years from now, we'll be able to look at this video and to remember, and look what he did. Look what God did, and he gets all the glory. It's his church. We are his church, and we are so excited for what's to come. We believe that this vision of being a visible presence of Jesus in the Cowichan Valley is the hope of this valley, is the hope of this world, and we will see this changed. Not because of us, not because of us at all, but despite of us and in and through us, Jesus is building his church. You guys, you are the church.
I am Amanda Moiliette.
Hi, I'm Cara Preeve.
I'm Tate, and I came along with her 4 months ago.
My name is Barry Perro.
I'm Elaine Burfano.
My name is Nathan.
Hi, I'm Kyle McIntyre.
My name's Phil, and my wife and I moved to Ladysmith, April of 2020.
We moved here in the early summer.
I started coming to Valley Church in beginning of December of 2022.
We've been attending Valley Church since the beginning in Pastor Wes's house. My friend Luke invited me, and I just showed up. Luke wasn't even there, and so I didn't know anybody. But after the service, I called my wife and I said, "Hey, I signed us up for a church. I hope you don't mind." And we've been coming ever since.
We needed to find a home, a church home. We had one where we were living. My wife had found Valley, reached out to Wes. So we get there, we sit down, and my wife and I are sitting there, and on the second song, she nudges me and says, I really like it here. And I nudged her back and I said, let's listen to the message. At the very end of the message, I leaned into her and I said, we're home, right? And she said, yeah, we're home.
Yeah, since we started coming to Valley from the beginning, actually.
And we started to come to Valley, I think it was around March of this year. The very first message that Pastor Wes ever preached was, you belong here. And I felt that day. I actually had that feeling that yes, I belong here.
You know, the second week we showed up, we weren't the new family anymore because there was a new family, and which felt great because now we got introduced. It's like, hey, here's another new family, and you're not new anymore, so talk to them.
Person I knew from Lake Cowichan, who lives in Duncan now, wanted to know if there was a need for some of the stuff they had. They had a music stand, and phoned Wes and said, I've got a music stand and some stuff for you. Brought it to him and Christy, and when he opened the car, he said, that's just what we needed. We needed more music stands, and it's great how God works. You know, God is working in behind in everything, no matter how small or big, right?
You know, what I love about Valley is you come as you are. And you know, like when I first became a Christian, one of my concerns was that, you know, I didn't fit that little box that I thought a Christian was supposed to be. I love that one of our pastors shows up in a football jersey almost every week, and it makes me feel comfortable.
Earlier this year, I was diagnosed with skin cancer. And so my life was literally turned upside down when I heard the doctor tell me that news. My life was shaken, and I had to really rely on God to get me through that. My faith grew like crazy, and it was like a minute by minute thing for me. I trusted God that He would get me through this, and He did, and I was healed of cancer, and I'm so very grateful for that.
I recently lost my son, and Valley Church just kind of like gathered me around me, and I felt their prayers and their encouragement.
I started a business as well this year, and we've seen God's provision throughout the entire thing. I've never had to go looking for work.
God has really been teaching me to have faith in Him. It comes down to the question of, do I want to rely on my own strength, or do I want to rely on God's strength? And I think the answer of who would be better to rely on is quite obvious. It's God, but it's putting that into practice.
What God's been doing in my life, and He's just been really impressing on me, seek first the kingdom of heaven, and it's just been on my mind that it's so important to just do that on a daily basis.
So we would pray almost every single day and just be like, God, like where, like, are you leading us? And then we started to feel like God was calling us to the Cowichan Valley.
He's doing something here. We want to be part of whatever's happening here.
Over the year, my wife and I have thought about moving to different places. We lost our home earlier in the summer, and we thought to ourselves, why would we move anywhere when God's planted us here?
The future of Valley Church is very exciting. God has big, big plans for this church. I can see so many things happening. I see a vibrant youth group, a vibrant kids program, and just people coming to know Jesus through this church. It's just so very evident that God is working.
I'm excited about where we're going. I mean, everything with having to move out of the building and with all the new, I mean, since I came here, I think it's probably doubled in size, Valley Church, and you know, there's so many people in the valley to reach. I'm just excited about the opportunity, and we're a very welcoming and inclusive type of church, and so yeah, that's what excites me.
Well, I think for me the excitement is children, the ministry from the children from when they're young, and then also carrying on when they're youth.
What excites me most is the connections that I've been making with people and furthering those relationships. I've never been part of a church before that is so eager to get to know each other at a deep level.
People getting saved, which is what it's all about, people coming to the Lord. And the baptisms is just awesome, what the number of people that have been baptized, and just the growth that we've seen in the first year is phenomenal. It's just amazing.
It's the excitement that I feel and that I haven't felt for a long time. And to grow so fast and so big, and you know, have all these children that come and share, you know, in our church services, it's just awesome. It's just awesome. That's all I can say.
Being able to be part of it from the start, and it's something I've been thinking about. And despite the fact we showed up 6 months in, you know, 5 years from now, when we have 800 people coming every Sunday, we're going to say, hey, we were there when there was less than 100. And that's really exciting.
God has done crazy things in this church, and it's only been a year. And I can't wait to see what He does for the future. This next year is going to be wild. It's going to be adventurous, and I think we're all up for it. And yeah, just really looking forward to seeing what God does.
So thanks for listening and watching this video. We're so thankful for all of you. And all of you who are listening and watching this documentary of what we put together of this first year. We can't wait to add to it in future years of what God has done. All right, let's go.